Part 2 is going to be awesome. Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be another movie review for you guys, and I have been wanting to see this movie since last week. I did not get a chance to see it last week. I finally saw it today. I wanted to see it Friday. I didn't get a chance to see it, and I finally saw it today. And that movie is one of the most anticipated movies. It was one of the most anticipated movies the entire year. A movie that I was definitely looking forward to. And that movie is The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. And I was so looking forward to this movie. First of all, guys, I loved the first Hunger Games. I thought that was a very good movie. Catching Fire was even better than that. Catching Fire was so much better. I love Catching Fire. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And, you know, I thought Catching Fire was great. And Mockingjay, you know, the cliffhanger of Catching Fire, of course, was very interesting seeing how Mockingjay was going to be because of what ended up happening in Catching Fire. So I was definitely looking forward to seeing what was going to happen in Mockingjay. And overall, guys, what did I think of Part 1 of Mockingjay? First of all, guys, this movie got some pretty bad reviews. You know, some people said it's boring. Some people said it's not interesting. Some people said it's not as, you know, amazing as the other ones. And let me say this about Mockingjay. What are you guys talking about? Because in my opinion, this was the best one. This was by far the best one for me. I was into it the most. I was enjoying the story the most. I love the idea of what's going on in this movie. And the thing that this movie does, if you really dissect it, I mean, it seems like Catching Fire is the best one. But if you really, really dissect it, this is the best one. Just think about it. It really is. It's hard to think about, but this really is the best one if you think about it. And we're going to talk about why. First of all, let's get to the plot of Mockingjay, which I think is definitely very interesting. Basically, of course, at the end of Catching Fire, Katniss ended up destroying the Hunger Games arena. You know, she ended up destroying it completely. That whole thing is over. And she, of course, was rescued when she found out that District 12, you know, the Capitol destroyed District 12. So now she is frantically searching for Peeta. She has no idea what happened to him because he was taken. She assumes he was taken by the Capitol and something happened to him. But basically, she is called in by two new characters who we meet in this. Plutarch Heavensbee and also the president of District 13, President Al McCoy. They want Katniss to basically be a symbol as the Mockingjay, and what they want to do is for the Capitol and for all the districts to go to war, and they want Katniss to make these propaganda commercials to basically get the districts, you know, pumped up to go to war with the Capitol, show them how bad the Capitol are, you know, make the Capitol scared of them and things like that, trying to turn them against President Snow, and that's basically what they want them to do, is to turn against President Snow and do all those sort of things, and that's basically the plot of Mockingjay. And I think that's an awesome plot. I know some people said that that's a really dumb plot, but I think it is a very well done plot, because this movie is executed very, very well. Let's get to the acting in this movie. First of all, we're going to talk about a few things. Jennifer Lawrence as Katniss Everdeen. This is by far, in my opinion, her best performance as Katniss, because you see Katniss transform so much in this movie. At first, she is very scared. She has no idea where Peeta is. She's actually very hesitant about doing these propaganda commercials, or as they call them, probs, basically. They call them probs. And she basically doesn't really know if she wants to do them because she doesn't want to, you know, hurt herself or get herself into trouble or something like that. She wants everything to be okay. She doesn't want to basically turn President Snow against her. She doesn't want to do something bad because she never wanted this to really happen. All she wanted to do was save, you know, Prim and everything. But later in the movie, she realizes that this is something she has to do. If she wants to, you know, save everyone from having the Hunger Games not happen again, then she needs to turn them against the Capitol, and she ultimately decides to do this. You also see her transform to realizing that she, you know, truly, you know, who she cares about more, Gale or Peeta. She still has that going on. And Jennifer Lawrence, I thought, portrayed that perfectly. Katniss actually sings in this movie. She has a song called The Hanging Tree, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about. And Jennifer Lawrence thinks that she sucks as a singer, but oh my god, she is amazing. I thought she did a great job with that song. She was absolutely fantastic, and I thought it was great when what they did with Katniss in this movie. I definitely really loved it, and Katniss is still a very compelling character, and they made her even more interesting in this one, in my opinion. Then you have Josh Hutcherson as PETA, who actually is not seen in the movie as much. He's seen more in these propaganda things. He's seen more on TVs, and, you know, Katniss is watching him. And the whole time, you can tell something is up with PETA. We don't know what it is, but you can just tell that something is going on with him. You know what, the Capitol did something to him. We don't find out what it is till the ending, though, and we'll talk about that in the spoilers. But I thought Josh Hutcherson still did a great job. He still was fantastic in this role. And what's good about this role, and what I liked about Josh Hutcherson, is that he approached this very differently. He understood that PETA is very different now. He's not the same person that he was before Katniss destroyed the arena. He's now a very different person because of what the Capitol has basically done to him. So I think it definitely is very interesting. I thought Josh Hutcherson portrayed that very, very well. Liam Hemsworth as Gale, he's still kind of wooden. I've never really been into his character. I liked him more in this, but I've never really been that big of a fan of Gale, and I really wasn't as big. I really still am not that big of a fan of Gale, but I liked him in this movie. I didn't have too much of a problem with him. Woody Harrelson as Haymitch, as usual, hilarious. Thought he was great. It was cool to see Haymitch and Effie, especially Effie Trinket, you know, Elizabeth Banks, not in the games. It was cool to see what happened to them in the games, basically. I thought that was well done. I definitely really enjoyed that. I like seeing them in a different sort of environment. And let's talk about the new characters. Philip Seymour Hoffman as Plutarch Heavensbee. God rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Great job. And Julianne Moore as President Al McCoy, also great. But the person that steals the show in this movie, for me, the person that I thought did an amazing job, was Donald Sutherland as President Snow. Holy shit, this guy is very menacing. This guy is a very good menacing villain, and the thing about him is that he is so calm. He's not even yelling. He's not really, like, he's frightening in the sense of how calm he is. He stays calm throughout this whole thing. You're so intimidated by him. You know, and the reason you're so intimidated by him is that you know what kind of damage he can do, but he stays so calm throughout the whole thing, and I love the way that Sutherland portrayed that. He was absolutely fantastic, and I thought he did a great job of that, definitely. I thought that was very, very well executed, and everyone else in the movie was good. I don't want to talk about anyone else. You know, Sam Claflin is back as Finnick. He was really good. Natalie Dormer has a good role in this. Game of Thrones love. You know, she did a great job. I thought her role was good, but I thought everyone else was definitely very good, and they portrayed, you know, the characters they portrayed were very well done as well. The directing in this movie, fantastic. I love the directing. And Francis Lawrence, I thought, did some great job directing it. You know, he also did Catching Fire. He didn't do the first one, but he did Catching Fire. And I like the way he portrayed this one as well. You know, it's very slow-moving. And I'm going to say this. If you guys don't like slow-moving movies, don't watch this movie, because this movie is very, very slow-moving. It takes a while for things to get going. It takes a while for things to happen. But I like that, because it's realistically portrayed. If this were to happen, it would take a while for certain things to happen. You know, Katniss has to think a little bit about what she wants to do. She's not just going to right away jump into it and say, okay, I want this to happen. No, she's going to think about it for a while, and I like the way that he portrayed that. I thought the directing was very well executed because of that. The other thing I liked in this movie was the split story format. The first half of this movie is a split story between what's going on with Katniss and the districts, and then President Snow and the Capitol. I thought that was very well done, and I definitely really enjoyed that. The screenplay also, great. I love the screenplay of this movie. Very, very interesting screenplay. And that's one of the things that's so good about this movie. You know, there's a lot of dialogue in this movie. There's not a lot of action, but all the dialogue is very interesting. It's never not interesting. Everything they're talking about is interesting. And that's because of the screenplay. The screenplay is so interesting, and I definitely really love the screenplay. I thought the screenplay was great. The score, amazing, as usual. James Newton Howard did a great score. Especially the hanging tree. That is probably going to be the most memorable thing about this movie, is the hanging tree. It's number 4 on iTunes, and it's the number 4th song on iTunes for a reason. It's that amazing. It really is. Cinematography, amazing cinematography. There are some really awesome action sequences. There's a lot of action sequences where you see Katniss will do a propaganda segment, and then you will see how it affects the districts versus the Capitol, and how the districts get more and more and more powerful as it goes on. It was very well done the way they did that. I thought the cinematography was great, and the editing was good too. This is the shortest Hunger Games so far, and I thought it had to be short, honestly. If this was longer, I would have had problems with it, because Where they stopped it was perfect. There was a point where I'm like, is this where they're going to stop it? But no, where they stopped, I thought was perfect. I wouldn't have continued it from there, and I'm very happy that they stopped it where they did, and I thought the editing was great, so I definitely really enjoyed the editing. But now let's get to the spoilers for The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. There's a lot to talk about. If you guys have not seen Mockingjay Part 1, go see it right now. Okay, I know you guys probably think it's going to be boring and it's not going to be interesting and it's pointless to watch. But no, it is extremely imperative that you see Mockingjay because of what ends up happening in Mockingjay, because of what's going to end up happening in Mockingjay Part 2, and also why Mockingjay Part 2 is going to be so awesome. And we're going to talk about that right now. First of all, we're going to talk about something that we find out like the first hour of the movie. Of course, we find out very early in the movie that Cinna died, and I was surprised that they had the balls to kill off, you know, a supporting character like Cinna. I mean, Cinna's not a huge character, but the fact that they killed Cinna was huge, because I didn't think they'd actually do that, because this movie seemed like it was going to be more of a slow-moving movie of what's to come, and, you know, definitely killing off Cinna was the thing to do. Also, guys, I will say one thing about this movie. Does anyone else feel like this was Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 1? You know, this was kind of like how that was, because if you remember Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 1, very slow-moving movie. This was better than that, in my opinion, but Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 1 was very slow-moving. There wasn't a lot going on in it, and then big things started happening. Of course, you know, Katniss has a conversation with President Snow. You know, she's trying to have that conversation with him, and basically, you know, she ends up having that conversation with him and everything, and then they end up, you know, going to a ceasefire, and everything starts going crazy, and basically, we see that she goes to, greet Peeta and everything. You know, she goes to, because of course she had requested to, you know, she requested to Plutarch and to, Coin, Alma, that basically, if I get this done, then you have to rescue Peeta, Joanna, and Annie. However, she wasn't successful with that, so her and Gale go to rescue them, and of course, when she goes to see Peeta, he attacks her, and that was insane when that happened. When he was attacking her, I was like, oh my god, this is insane what's going on here. And basically, she goes to greet Peeta, he attacks her, he strangles her into unconsciousness before being knocked out himself. And she wakes up in the medical facility, and when he was knocked out, I honestly thought that's how the movie was going to end, because it fades to black, but then, of course, we go back, and we see that she wakes up in the medical facility, and she realizes that Peeta has been brainwashed into wanting to kill Katniss. Now, my only complaint with that is the marketing. If you remember, guys, when this first came out, we saw President Snow giving that address, and we saw Peeta right next to him, and that spoils the really good twist in this movie. And it's not really, it's the marketing problem. It's not a problem with this movie, it's a problem with the marketing, and I really wish they would have not done that, because I would have been more shocked if they wouldn't have given that away in the marketing. I wouldn't have been more shocked if I didn't know that. So, basically, that explains why the Capitol allowed Gale's team to escape, and a process to undo the therapy begins, but they're very, you know, they don't think it's going to work, because Peeta basically now has these memories that Katniss is the enemy, so they're very worried that it's not going to work. And of course, Alma announces the successful rescue of the victors, and that the fight may now be taken to the Capitol. So that's basically how it ends, and you can see Katniss, she doesn't know what's going to happen to her. She doesn't know, you know, what's going to happen. But now she's accepted that she is the Mockingjay. And I like seeing that transformation of Cass. So I thought that was definitely very, very well done. The way she transformed there was amazing. And the way that she basically realized that, yeah, I'm the Mockingjay. I want to save these people. I want to do something about this. And now they've taken Peeta. It's going to get even worse for her, because she realized, and one of the things I loved is that she realized in this movie that she loved Peeta. And it took a while for her to, you know, if you remember, there was a time in Catching Fire when she wasn't sure if she loved Peeta or Gale, but in this movie, Finnick basically tells her, you love Peeta, and he can tell that she loves Peeta. And I thought that was definitely a very well-done conversation. I definitely very much enjoyed. I thought that was very well executed, and I thought that was very well done, in my opinion. And I definitely really enjoyed that conversation that they had, and I thought that was very well done. And definitely Mockingjay Part 2 is going to be amazing. It's going to be a fantastic finale. I know this one was very slow-moving, but the next one is definitely going to be amazing, and I can't wait to see what happens in Part 2. But that's basically from my review, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. Let me know what you guys saw this movie. Overall, guys, thought this movie was amazing. I loved it. Highly recommend you guys check it out. Some great acting there from Jennifer Lawrence as usual. And definitely really enjoyed that. So I will see you guys in my next video, which will be either for a movie review or for my review of tonight's episode of The Walking Dead. Let me know what you guys saw this movie, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Okay, so yeah, like I said, it's either going to be for my review of another movie review or for the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.